John chapter 6. After these things Jesus went on the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. And a great multitude followed him, because they saw his miracles which he did to those that were diseased. And Jesus went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was close at hand. When Jesus then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company coming to him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread, so they may eat?" And he said this to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, so that every one may have a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There is a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. But what are they among so many?" And Jesus said, "Make the men sit down." Now there was much grass in the place. So the men sat down, about 5,000 in number. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to those that were sitting down, and likewise of the fish, as much as they wanted. When they were filled, he said to his disciples, "Gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing is lost." Therefore they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets with fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which remained over and above those that had eaten. Then those men, when they had seen the miracle that Jesus did, said, "This is of a truth that prophet that should come into the world." When Jesus therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king, he departed again into a mountain alone. And when evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, and entered into a ship, and went on the sea toward Capernaum. And it was now dark, and Jesus did not come with them. And the sea rose up by reason of a great wind that blew. So when they had rowed about 25 or 30 furlongs, they saw Jesus walking on the sea, and coming closer to the ship, and they were afraid. But he said to them, "It is I, do not be afraid." Then they willingly received him into the ship, and immediately the ship was at the land where they went. The day following, when the people who stood on the other side of the sea saw that there was no other boat there, except the one that his disciples were on, and that Jesus didn't go with his disciples into the boat, but that his disciples went away alone, how could other boats from Tiberias come to the place where they ate bread, after the Lord had given thanks? When the people saw that Jesus was not there or his disciples, they also took boats and went to Capernaum, looking for Jesus. And when they had found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, "Rabbi, when did you come here?" Jesus answered them and said, "Surely, surely, I say to you, you seek me, not because you saw the miracles, but because you ate of the loaves and were filled. Labor not for the meat which perishes, but for that meat which endures to everlasting life, that the Son of Man shall give to you, for God the Father has sealed him." Then they said to him, "What shall we do that we might work the works of God?" Jesus answered and said to them, "This is the work of God, that you believe on him whom he has sent." They said therefore to him, "What sign will you show us then, that we may see and believe you? What work will you do? Our fathers ate manna in the desert, as it is written, He gave them bread from heaven to eat." Then Jesus said to them, "Surely, surely, I say to you, Moses didn't give you that bread from heaven, but my Father gave you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he which comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." Then they said to him, "Lord, evermore give us this bread." And Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. He that comes to me shall never hunger, and he that believes on me shall never thirst. But I said to you that you also have seen me, and don't believe. All that the Father gives me shall come to me, and him that comes to me I will in no wise cast out. For I came down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is the Father's will which has sent me, that of all who he has given me I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day. And this is the will of him that sent me, that every one which sees the Son and believes on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. The Jews then murmured at him because he said, I am the bread that came down from heaven. And they said, Is not this Jesus, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he said, I came down from heaven? Jesus therefore answered and said to them, Murmur not among yourselves. No man can come to me, except the Father which has sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets, And they shall be all taught of God. Every man therefore that has heard, and has learned of the Father, comes to me. Not that any man has seen the Father, except he which is of God. He has seen the Father. Surely, surely, I say to you, he that believes on me has everlasting life. I am that bread of life. Your fathers ate manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which comes down from heaven, that a man may eat of and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. The Jews therefore contended among themselves, saying, How can this man give us his flesh to eat? Then Jesus said to them, Surely, surely, I say to you, except you eat the flesh of the Son of Man, and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eats my flesh and drinks my blood dwells in me, and I in him. As the living Father has sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eats of me, even he shall live by me. This is that bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers did eat manna, and are dead. He that eats of this bread shall live forever. These things he said in the synagogue as he taught in Capernaum. Many therefore of his disciples, when they had heard this, said, This is a hard saying, who can hear it? When Jesus knew in himself that his disciples murmured at it, he said to them, Does this offend you? What and if you shall see the Son of Man ascend up to where he was before? It is the Spirit that quickens, the flesh profits nothing. The words that I speak to you, they are spirit, and they are life. But there are some of you that don't believe. For Jesus knew from the beginning who that wouldn't believe, and who would betray him. And he said, Therefore I say to you, that no man can come to me, except it were given to him of my Father. From that time many of his disciples went back and didn't walk with him any more. Then Jesus said to the 12, Will you also go away? Then Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life, and we believe and are sure that you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus answered them, Have not I chosen you 12, and one of you is a devil? he spoke of Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon, for he was the one that would betray him, being one of the 12.